Hey everyone, and welcome to your daily update for SOL and BTC. Starting with liquidity on the 1 day, it's a bit more to the upside, so it wouldn't surprise me if we see a little bit of a sweep. Structurally, there's a couple of trends moving today. We're going to end up with some stuff flipping from above to bottom, and so we'll end up with a little bit more support. Also some hold levels, so I think they're probably going to start looking at taking some of this 113, 114 area to the upside on BTC. Meanwhile, there is still liquidity, plenty of it sitting down there at 108, so that would mean they could dive down, hit the trend, bounce up, hit the hold, cover all that off. Looking at the 1 day on SOL, it's mostly just to the upside. So there's this really big spike here at 205, 206, and I think we might even hit that before the end of the day potentially, because it's there's some short-term moves in play right now that go into that sort of area. And then we're looking at these sort of 211s, 212s, upwards. There is a 5-day move to 218 in play, so but looking at the 1 day liquidity, maybe not justified to do it absolutely just yet, but it is getting there. To the downside, sort of around that 198 mark, is the short-term play. So if we have a look at the 7-day, so 7-day really warrants a dip across the board on SOL and on BTC. If it was to dip on BTC, it would be down to that sort of 104, 105, maybe 106. 106 would take that whole cluster to the bottom side, and we do have support candles and various things sitting there. And it sort of shows that 113, 114 level is all they're kind of interested in. If you've been watching this for the last couple of days, the liquidity is shifting downwards on BTC, which tends to mean that it's more of a real trend and that we're actually going down. So it's probably not what we want to hear, but yeah, at the end of the day, I don't think the bottom is in on BTC, regardless of what a lot of people are saying. But maybe it's close is probably the better way of putting it. And that range on the 7-day liquidity when it comes to SOL is basically 190 all the way up to 220. And it's starting to get very, very even. So it's kind of the liquidity we start to see before some kind of news event. And we do have news events coming. So yeah, maybe they're just gearing it up to take both sides. If we have a look at the 30-day, so 30-day liquidity is still a bit out of whack, really. On BTC, it would show that they should go all the way up to 120, and that's about where the top of our resistance, high time frame resistance is. So we could run up into that, and that would take all that topside liquidity. And it's sort of showing that 105, 106, maybe at a push 104 is still really the bottom end of things at the moment. If they keep shifting it down, though, what that means is that eventually 104 becomes the middle and then 100 becomes the bottom. So if we are trending down, then that's you just got to bear in mind you can never mortgage your house on a single trade. As far as the 30-day liquidity goes on SOL, same boundaries really, about 176, 175 at the absolute bottom. But by the time they get to 188, they've taken at least half of it. And to the upside, it's still really just showing that there's not a lot of efficiency in going above 220 at this stage. So if we were to get a really big violent move, that would sort of be my range that I'd be playing in right now, is probably that 176, 175 at the bottom and about 220 at the top. So let's have a look at the short-term liquidity. And so on SOL, we are starting to see so there's a bunch of 100x leverage up there at 209, and 209 is actually the hold candle on, I think it's the daily, that will become a hold level at close today. So if the trend moves and we bounce the trend, we could come up there and take out that 100x leverage that's all getting quite dense up there at 209. But other than that, it's basically they're starting to form in close proximity, top and bottom. Once we get a heap of little lines here between 204 and 208, then that kind of means that entire gap is bridged, and then it would be quite easy for them to do a bit of a short squeeze up and grab that 209 area. So yeah, it's looking like they're baking the cake, and they're going to start to eat it relatively soon. Pretty much 105 on BTC all the way up to about 116 would just be that short-term liquidity band. And interesting to see they're starting to build up that 195 area again. It's very different when you look at it across here on sort of a slightly higher time frame. You can see BTC has pretty much got this high time frame range of liquidity from 95 all the way up to 126, and that's got all the confluence in the world with what the charts and all the high time frame levels are showing us on the charts. Whereas SOL, there's just really not a lot to grab if they go pushing up. And the only real way to get liquidity to come in on the top side of the chart is to go down. People will open shorts late a lot of the time when the price starts to go down, and that makes it therefore more efficient to go up. So these big thick bands that still exist here, in that 150 area and that 170s area, that's the kind of thing that just gives you nightmares, because if it was to just take a really short, sharp dive, then that's just where everything sits basically. Yeah, big gaps if it loses certain areas. Okay, let's have a look at what these charts are showing us. So SOLBTC Strength really needs to push up, otherwise it's going to end up closing below the daily, and it won't move the trend, so then it would have to come down to this next one. But we've sort of been talking about that for a couple of days. If we come down to that 179 area, that would make sense anyway. It's just a retest of a really old origin level from all the way back here in February, so it makes sense. We've hard closed it. We tried to do a retest on it once, it just didn't happen because the trend got in the way, and we've now rejected the topside daily trend. So but it also wouldn't surprise me if we come back up to this sort of 188 area before this 18832 area, before then rolling down to that. So but yeah, it's going to close under the trend. Nothing's really moving. We might get one more push up before the down, or it might just go down, bounce, and then come back up. If it hits this trend in combination with this origin level, then it's likely it'll return up to that hold. So so it looks like we might see some weakness, see some strength, vice versa, but nothing really dramatic there. If we look at that on the weekly, it's hit the top of the range trend after rejecting off the break level. It still hasn't retested the actual moved weekly trend, so it's likely we could go up a little bit higher. So strength on the next push up might actually be stronger than the last couple of ones you've seen. And we haven't retested the monthly level yet, so yeah, this is probably the big one for me. I'd like to see it hit that 17770 retest and then head all the way up to 20232. That would give a really nice big strong spike on SOL. Okay, let's have a look at our safety assets. Yep, so they are going up. That's what we thought would happen yesterday. So we're at that 65% mark. Really the next step for this is to go up to 65.32 and then 65.46 and then have a rejection off that. So this is looking basically exactly like what we thought would happen. So all this is really going to mean is that you will have a bit more weakness on alts if this continues to move up. If it was to pull back under that 65% mark before the end of close today, then it might just reject off the backside of this break level over here and then come back down. But it's also getting a hold level forming in there now, so if anything, it looks like you're probably going to see a little bit more weakness in alts. And total is bouncing off the trend. So this will be an interesting one because it's going to create a move today. So when it closes, it will confirm this hold level here at 348 trillion. And so then it can either test the hold and drop back to the trend, which means market go down, or it could come down, hit the trend, then go back to the hold, which means you then get that sort of upwards move. But either way, it's basically starting to get into the the pointy end of the flag where it's going to have a breakout soon. But yeah, those are the levels to watch. We've already hit that hold level and had our rejection, so we're over. That was our 390. 349.7. So now we're going to get this new hold level here at 348. So it's still technically laddering down. The market is still laddering down. We have got that support candle down there at 339.64, so we'll get a bounce off that regardless. So it's looking like we're getting to the pointy end. And so over on the weekly time frame, we have rejected off the backside of the range trend. We've found support on the normal. What's that one from? Yeah, from the range trend all the way back from March, and we look like we're going to close above the break level. So yeah, it might dip down again based on those lower time frames. But this time frame at some point is going to come back up here and revisit this 3.7 trillion. So I just want to make sure we get into a good long position before we start to head up and test those higher hold levels. Okay, BTC. So if BTC closes under 111188 today, then we're going to have a hold level to the upside. We are going to create an interior trend. So this is going to be quite neat. We're going to have two trends here. So we've got the original one that moved the other day, which we then bounced off to test the hold level here at 111182, which is almost the same as where this new hold level is actually forming. But because we haven't actually dipped lower, our trends are now starting to trend up. Like we're moving into a little bit more parabolic strength. Early days, obviously, but so this is going to open in the middle. If it comes down and hits these trends, then you look to add to your longs and take up a scalp to this hold level. If it goes up first and you're already in a long, then you might want to reduce your position a little bit because it could reject off the hold level and then come back down to the trends. So this has pretty much played out exactly like we thought. Our trend moved from here to here yesterday. The price has come up. It's rejected off the trend. It's ooh. Geez, that wasn't a loud alert that just went off on my headphones. Don't know if anyone heard that, but ouch. Anywho, yeah, so this has been playing out exactly like we thought it would. And now it's just a case of it creates a hold level, it creates a new interior trend, and then we get a trade between one and the other again. So that's looking kind of cool. And so we've got a couple of other weird closes today. We've got a 13-day close. Probably one of the things to point out about a 13-day close is we're going to get this topside range trend forming, which means almost certain rejection if we get up there and hit that 125 area. We're going to get a hold level here at 116. So just flipping back to that liquidity, we're going to get a hold level at 116. We're also going to move this trend from here, where it currently is. Just put another line on here, eh? So trend is here. We're going to get a trend here. So if we get this move, which would be down into that 109 area again, maybe a bit lower. We haven't retested this 106, what's this, 106.421 break on the 13-day. We haven't retested that technically. If we get a dive down into this area, the long would then potentially go all the way back up to that 116. And so if we look at our overall liquidity, 105's at the bottom, so that makes 106 pretty likely. We could do that. And our top is 116. So coming back to our 13-day chart, our trend will move here to here. That gives us something we can bounce off, which has confluence with some of these horizontal levels we've got down here as well. And so that could mean along anywhere from trend, which is about 109-ish, 109.6, anywhere down to that sort of 106 area, all the way back up to the hold level here at 116. And that would take all that liquidity on the board, and I think everyone would be pretty happy. If we get continuation, it would be up to this next level of trend, which is 120, and we know we've got resistance there based on other timeframes. And then, of course, we're going to have this new topside trend coming in here at that sort of 125, 126 area, which then gives you all of that high time frame resistance and all that high time frame liquidity that's on BTC. So it's definitely gearing up. I don't necessarily think this is the exact bottom, but it's certainly not the top either. Okay, and if we look at the 119 close today, same thing. We're going to move a trend. We're not going to have a hold level on this, but we are going to have a break level, and we could do a trend retest. So that'll be our new trend. It'll come through here. It gives us that 109 or lower. We have this hold candle down here at 105,586. So we could dive the new trend, hit the hold level, and then bounce all the way back up to 115, 116, or even go and test the top break side, or test the break at the top there. So yeah, it looks like we're so close to a nice big pop. All right, so we don't really want SOL to close here because it's back below the range trend, but that does make a bit of sense given what we saw on the SOLBTC chart, which shows that we might get a bit of weakness on SOL. We're not shifting any of our main trends. Everything's just kind of, it's a dive, it's grabbing liquidity, it's probably going to go back up. We've got the daily hold candle sitting there at 200, 200.579. So yeah, that's looking, and actually we've got that old origin level coming through there at 200, 170. So we've got plenty of support. It would be nice if the price went up above 203.7 for the day. If it does that, we could then get a bounce off the top of the range trend back up to that 209 hold. And there's a lot of 100x leverage just sitting at that 209 hold. So it wouldn't surprise me if they take that. Also, this entire thing is a dive from the top of the trend. So you would expect some form of retracement back up to that level anyway. And we also haven't retested the daily trend since it moved. So if we hit a hold level, we should head back to a trend. It would just be a bit more bullish if we actually managed to close above that 203.8 level, because hitting this hold candle might just retrace to the backside of the range trend and reject off that. And so that's kind of what you don't want. You want it to close above it, come down, find the support, and then go all the way back up. But yeah, it looks a little bit weak at the moment. But yeah, to be expected with what's happening on the SOLBTC chart. Let's have a look at our 13-day. Yeah, so 13-day would be very bullish if it would close up over 205, because then it would be on the top side of the long-term trend. But as it stands, it's played out its move. Like, we bounced off the hold candle back there at 188. We've hit the trend. We actually pushed all the way up through the trend, but like I say, we're failing to close over top of it. So it's looking like it's probably going to have to come back down and test something. So what we are doing today, if we close above 200, is we are hard closing that 287 range. And if we hard close that, we might come down and do that retest. And we keep looking at that sort of 188, 189 area, wondering if we are going to go back down there and retest it. And that's where we've got things like 4-month hold candles, which take us up to 247s and those bigger numbers. And they're going to, a 4-month hold candle is going to break through these lower time frame trends. So maybe we do just have to go back there at some point, just when everyone least expects it, before we do go up. But so bullish, if we can close over 205 on the end of the day, we might just bounce off the top side of that trend and go. If we don't, then we may bounce off the bottom side of it again, maybe take another stab at it, and then come down here to retest this 188 level. So, and let's see what the 19-day. I like this one. So the 19-day is kind of just sitting on that really old range trend from 2022. And this is a really big trend. We want to get back over this. So even where it is now, it's kind of just over the top of it. But if we can get in an hour and 34 minutes, it'd be insanely bullish if this thing actually went to that 209 target early. If it did that, we'd be over top of the bigger trends. But even if we just snuck up $1 or two, we'd be getting back up inside that really old range trend. And yeah, that would be a pretty spectacular place to close the day from a bullish perspective. And it's still it's a 19-day time frame, so could we still then go down and test these levels down here? Of course we could, because the same candle today, even if it closes up above that range trend, it's also still the hard close on the 19-day of that 187 break level there. So, but you can talk long-term bullish. Long-term bullish is when you close back up inside a range, dive down to take all the liquidity from the previous range, and that gets all of those people who think, great, we're up inside this new range, I'll move my stop losses up, and then it just dives down and takes them. So we can still do that kind of thing, and that's actually really, really bullish because it's trying to take the liquidity from the lower range before it pushes up. And the targets on this level, once it gets above these trends, are really good. They're like 243, 264. Yeah, short version, we want back inside that range trend. Let's do that. Okay, let's all vote for that. So cool. And just to show you that everybody's human, that was my ENA scalp, and I thought I'd be cheeky and front run it, and it front run me on the 4th decimal place. So it just goes to show it happens to the best of us. And SOI's still going good. So just a real quick one on SOI. We've bounced off the daily hold, and we're either gonna close below this 3.3162 level, in which case we might just come up, hit that, and come back to trend. So then you can compound your money a little bit more. Or we're going to potentially just get back over this level, not create the resistance hold, and then just continue up to this 3.4367 level. So SOI's in a monthly long to about 3.8. So if you get any of these sort of lower time frame opportunities to compound based on dailies or any of that kind of stuff, then take the opportunity and compound the money. What we've got is basically this little wedge going on the daily. We're going to create this trend. So we may come down, hit that, come back up. We may go up and then come back down. But either way, it's going to move around in this area unless it closes back up over the top of this range trend, which would be really close to where it is now, about 3.308. If it closes back up over that, it could push up to that 3.4367 level pretty easily. So yeah, if it dips, add, TP into resistance. When it dips, re-add. By the time you actually get to the monthly target, you probably find you've made quite a bit of money out of this just as it slowly waddles its way up to that monthly 3.8 area. So yeah, that's looking pretty good. And I will get this one, ENA. So still, ENA is actually in a monthly short. So 8429 was the hold level on the monthly. The target for that is 5428. So just do keep an eye on this, because if it comes down and hits that level, particularly from the top side of these trends, then you flip long, and then because it is actually, so it's in a monthly short, but it's in a monthly uptrend. So ideally what we want to see is we want to see it complete that short, and then that'll be all the downwards pressure gone, and the hold level has already been hit, which means if it touches that trend again, it should bounce up to this 107 area. So I want to try and catch that one at the right point, because that'd be a pretty decent move if we can get sort of a 100% move out of a token on leverage. Yippee-ki-yay. Okay, cool. Well, that's it for today. So like, subscribe. We're at 390 something subscribers, so nearly 500. And yeah, hope you get some trades. Cheers.